Hi, welcome to PT Talks with your host Mario Centeno. This is a segment that we'll be having at the Glendon Athletic Club, in which we're going to be talking about personal training, strength and conditioning, nutrition, neuroscience, what happens in your body and the brain, and many other subjects. Today we'll be talking about Parkinson's disease. So we'll be starting our series of videos on chronic diseases. This will be video number 1. So what is Parkinson's disease? Parkinson's is a neurodegenerative disorder that affects mainly the dopamine system. So what way? It's in the loss of dopamine producing neurons. This happens in the midbrain, in an area called the substantia nigra pars compacta. Whenever this happens, it's sometimes too late. Why am I saying this? Whenever someone gets diagnosed, 60 to 80% of the cells are already gone. They've been wiped, and the dopamine in key circuits is depleted. So you can start seeing symptoms, mainly motor symptoms, but there's other types of symptoms as well. What kind of motor symptoms are there? Bradykinesia, which is slowness. You also have rigidity, tremors, which is the most popular symptoms that a lot of people associate Parkinson's disease with, and postural instability. So crouching, in other words. And then you have the non-motor symptoms, which for a lot of people, it takes them by surprise. People start having sleep issues, mood changes, constipation, and there's also cognitive challenges. So when it comes to different symptoms that are presented, it really depends on the individuals and the treatment that they're receiving. Now you may be asking yourself, why does it happen? Well, number one, there's a protein problem. There's two main keywords that I want you to remember. This is going to be asynuclein, which is going to be a protein, and Lewy bodies. So inside the affected neurons, there's these proteins called asynuclein. They misfold. What happens is that they clump and they turn what we call into a Lewy body and Lewy neurites. These aggregates, they degrade the cellular housekeeping, and imagine that the neurons are being pushed towards dysfunction and death because of changes in the mitochondria. Same thing in the lysosomes, which the mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, energy, and then the lysosomes, they take care of trash and removal of this trash. And there's also a change in the synapses. All of these changes, it pushes the neurons into an eventual death. That means that Parkinson's disease sits in a family of asynchronopathies, in which it also includes dementia with Lewy bodies and multiple system atrophy. But where does it start? There's a debate going on between the gut and the brain. But where does it actually start? There are two theories. You have the gut first theory and the brain first theory. This is actually still an ongoing research, so we truly don't know yet. But the gut first theory, it's called the Bragg hypothesis, which it proposes that pathology actually starts in the olfactory bulb as well as the gut's enteric nervous system. It also propagates along the neural pathway, so think about the brain, before actually hitting the midbrain and the cortex. So it travels. So this modern work refines into the gut first and brain first subtypes. So that's why when we talk about non-motor symptoms, there's constipation, maybe loss of smell, and there's also REM, sleep behavior disorder, in many people, which this starts showing way before motor signs actually start to appear. So this is where the gut theory first comes from. In addition, you also have other factors such as genes, the environment, and cell stress. So most of Parkinson's disease is sporadic. It just happens. But genes can raise the risk of Parkinson's disease or cause familial PD. So these are just changes in gene mutation, which I'm going to say the names. We're going to show them. They're a bit complex, but it's CNCA, LRRK2, GBA1, PRKN or Parkin, PINK1, DJ1, BPS35, among others. All of these, they converge on the mitochondrial dysfunction, oxidative stress, and impaired protein clearance. In addition, there's also environmental stressors or environmental exposures that actually have to do with the development of Parkinson's disease. And one of the number ones is actually pesticides, followed by solvents. The exposure to these kinds of substances can actually raise the risk of developing Parkinson's disease in the future. So we have to be aware of what we have in our surroundings, what we're eating. This is why it's important to always consider taking a holistic approach to your health, understanding every single key area and find a program that works for you best. Now let's talk about circuits. Why does dopamine loss change movement? Well, dopamine normally boosts the direct pathway, which is the go. and it dampens the indirect pathway, which is the stop. That's why whenever someone presents motor symptoms, it might be difficult to start an action, or maybe they start walking, but it'll be difficult to stop the action that they're doing, which leads to falling. So both are being affected. That means that just dopamine is not being regulated properly, or there's not enough. As I said, there's a deficiency or depletion. But it's not only dopamine that it's affected. Two other systems are also affected by Parkinson's disease. You have the cholinergic and the noradrenergic systems. This is loss and dysfunction in brainstem cholinergic nuclei and related networks. So this links to gait and balance problems. That's why we see a lot of falls. In addition, there's also degeneration in coeruleus. This contributes to no motor symptoms and broad network changes. So neural changes, hence cognitive symptoms. This explains why not all symptoms fully respond to levodopa. Levodopa is a medicine, a prescription drug that is utilized to treat Parkinson's disease. Levodopa can also be found in the body. We just inject a little bit extra in the body to be able to deal with the symptoms. Look at it as a booster. Now you may be asking yourself, what is something that can help with Parkinson's disease? Well, there is a simple answer to this in which we can actually help. Exercise. Exercise is medicine. How so? Well, with exercise, we're able to target every single muscle in the body, including the brain. So exercise, it's amazing. Why? Well, the thing is, whenever we exercise, we start engaging in aerobic movement, but also skillful movement. These two types of training enhances synaptic plasticity. What does this mean? Well, plasticity is the ability of the brain to be able to shift neural pathways and start balancing out, and in a very amazing way, being able to relocate resources in order to compensate with areas that are not working. Through plasticity, we're able to support areas of the brain that are not functioning as they should. So by creating new neural pathways, we're able to start regaining some things that we thought couldn't come back. I'm not saying that we're able to fully fix the brain through neuroplasticity, but we're able to create some neural changes through exercise that is going to help us with motor and non-motor symptoms. This is why it's important to always keep learning and always do things in your day-to-day life. It's good. The brain needs to continue working. That's why we stress whenever we talk to someone that has recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease to do as many activities as they can, because the brain can rewire itself. It's amazing. Many analysis and many meta-analysis that have been done that have found that many exercise types improve motor symptoms and quality of life. There's some that work better than others. While there are some very small differences, it's important to know that the best exercise that you can do is the one that you can do consistently. So it doesn't matter what you do. The most important thing is that you're consistent. Do not focus on the type of exercise, focus on the quantity. Number 2, there was a study done in which it looked at randomized trials and going into high intensity treadmill work. While in some individuals this may not be the best case to do, it actually showed a feasible and safe way to support intensity and actually regulate motor control symptoms. Lastly, there was a study done by the Parkinson's Foundation in which they used real-world data that up to 2.5 hours of work a week of exercise, it correlates with a slower decline in quality of life. And in a personal note, I actually worked in the neuroimaging lab at York University, where we do a lot of great work when it comes to Parkinson's disease, in which what we did is that through ballet dance therapy, we would get a group of people with Parkinson's disease and we taught them to dance. And it showed some incredible results regarding the changes in the neural pathways and the electrical activity in the brain. While exercise, dance, or any sort of physical activity doesn't fix Parkinson's, because it's a neurodegenerative disease, that means that it'll just progress over time, we're able to slow the decline and hopefully one day put it to a halt. Before we end this video, I want to give you guys some tips on how to build a proper workout for someone with Parkinson's disease. Maybe you yourself have it, maybe you know someone, or maybe in the future you come across someone that has recently been diagnosed or has had it for many years. So with this little guide that we're going to show on screen, I'm going to let you guys know about some things that you can do. I'm going to call them the big rocks. or the big boulders in our program, which is aerobic exercise that is recommended to do 3 to 5 times a week. This can be cycling, if you're able to be on the treadmill on a light brisk walk, and also boxing style drills. Use external cues such as lines on the floor or maybe a timer. That way you're able to understand what you need to do, find the proper pace, and that way we also start treating the bradykinesia and the freezing. Cues are going to be very helpful to help with this symptom. We also have strength training. This is recommended to do 2 to 3 times a week. Compound lifts are very recommended because we're able to target a lot of muscle groups at the same time. Besides compound movements, we also recommend doing unilateral work. This way, we're able to address asymmetry in the body. In addition, it is good to integrate some TRX rows, maybe some band lateral walks, a lot of stretching, and isolation movements. We also need to work on our balance and our mobility. This is recommended to do almost every single day. Maybe take a little rest in between, maybe for a day, and then do it for a couple of days again, and then take a day break. What's an excellent activity to do? Tai Chi, yoga elements, mobility ladder, weight shifts, obstacle navigation, and we also want to train our step initiation. So standing up, sitting down, these are going to be very important movements that we're going to need to practice. A lot of people are going to think, but I know how to stand up and sit down. Yes, but over time, sadly, it's going to get a little bit more difficult. So what we want to do is we want to bulletproof. That's the goal. Lastly, we also have to focus on flexibility. It doesn't have to be a very big routine, but something that we can do every day consistently, maybe when we wake up, maybe in the middle of the day, maybe when we're sitting in the living room, or before we go to sleep. Stretching is going to be really important. Besides the strength training, doing a little bit of cardio, doing mobility and balance training, we have to stretch the muscles because it's possible that we might not be able to work all the muscles directly, but through stretching, either we can work them directly, indirectly, and enhance your mobility and flexibility, which are going to be of really big help. So that's the end of the Parkinson's video, but before we go, I just want to do a little recap. Parkinson's rewires brain circuits, but movement is powerful and it counters signals. With consistent, well-designed training, people with Parkinson's disease can move better, think clearer, and live more independently. If you're in Toronto, you can book a smart Parkinson's disease session with one of our teams. We'll be happy to give you a free consultation and see how we can support you. As I said, Parkinson's disease cannot be treated directly. It can be fixed, but there's things that we can do to slow down the symptoms, slow down degeneration, and improve the quality of life of individuals, which is what we aim to do. Thank you very much for your time. Like, subscribe, share with anybody that you know that may have Parkinson's disease or could find this video interesting. Hopefully you liked it. Let us know in the comments, and I look forward to the next video. Have a good day.